Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Apologies for the slightly delayed start. We were finishing up our work session. Today is Monday, April 13th, 2026. It's currently 7:07 p.m., and this is the regular meeting of the Philomath City Council. Just as a heads up, tonight's agenda, we are going to start with a public hearing on the 8th Street alley vacation, after which we will skip ahead to item F1, mixed use development RFP for 1384 Main Street, and then we will return to our regularly scheduled agenda for the night. So with that, can we start with a roll call?
Present. Yeah.
Here.
Present.
Salsa.
Present.
Yeah.
Here. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to open a public hearing on the 8th Street alley vacation, which is on page 1 of your packet for those of you with packets. Chris, do you want to give us a little overview of this?
I will go first. The applicant, Scott Ramsey, came into City Hall this morning, let me know that he had a conflict this evening that had come up. He intended to be here, but couldn't, so he apologizes. I told him I would kind of run through and do my best to represent his interests here. The alley vacations are pretty straightforward. This is mostly following state code language. The city's the city's code just says we're going to follow state proceedings on this, and so that's mostly what the memo that you have in front of you shows. It's just following those procedures and all the steps that are there. In short, the applicant's done everything up to this point correctly. The public hearing tonight is kind of that final process. Once we're through with the hearing, the council can just give me some direction to prepare an ordinance. You don't necessarily have to vote tonight to approve it or to not approve it. Just give me direction to approve an ordinance or to prepare an ordinance that vacates the alley. I'll bring that to you at your next meeting. If approved, it's effective 30 days from then. We send that, the city recorder will send that to the county and get that recorded as vacated. The alley, per state law, splits 50-50. So the adjacent property owners, we each get 50% of what used to be the public right of way. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward. The city's priority, on these is looking for infrastructure that's already in the ground or that might need to go in that space at some point in the future. So we look for sewer lines, water lines, storm lines, public or private. We also look for future use. So we're going to need some street access at some point there. But with the railroad at the south end of that, the residential, makeup of that area and that neighborhood, the limited number of lots there, we've really looked at that pretty hard from the public works standpoint. We just don't see any real public need for that alleyway ever. Now, ever in the foreseeable future, how far can you see into the future? I look in terms of 100 years, and I think in the next 100 years, I don't see it. But maybe beyond that, someday we'll regret it. Until that point, I'll joke aside, we don't see any issues from the staff level of approving this. We just need an approval. Happy to answer any questions that council members might have.
That little east, where that T's in
On page 2.
on page 2, it looks like a shuttled almost like a road, but it's not a road. Is it a driveway or what is that?
It's an alley as well, and it's used privately. It's not used privately. It's used to access the back of the property to the north. So it's gravel right now. Well, gravel and
Is that privately owned?
it's public.
Public.
The east and west alley is public and will remain public. It's just the south spur in blue that will be vacated.
Okay, so that didn't change the access of it.
So again, if things got, busier, the city still has the option to improve that alley east and west, and we'd still have the ability to improve the alleyway south from Pioneer down to that east and west. So all we're really talking about is that blue, that southern spur that goes down to the railroad tracks and dead ends there. So, good question. Any others?
I feel like this is probably going to pass, but I just don't like the idea of us vacating alleyways in general, or vacating anything really. Just because I feel like it always comes back to bite us in some way. Not always, but it can. And So for that reason, I personally would not support this. I think the application makes sense. I get the staff recommendation. I just think that publicly controlled goods should remain public. Um, because I don't want to have some city council in 50 years need to put in a new storm drain and have to buy this back from someone or et cetera, et cetera. So those are my thoughts, but I expect it will still happen. And that's that. But yes,
Remind me what the reason is for wanting to vacate?
He owns both of the lots on either side, and he's intending to put a new home on the empty, undeveloped lot on the west side of the alleyway to be vacated. So he's looking for enough land that he can put a home on there and meet his setback requirements. So he'll have side yard, front yard, and backyard requirements. So I think he's mostly worried about his side yard requirements and the current limitations on getting a home in that space and still having side yard. And I couldn't tell you the exact dimensions, like if he's short 2 foot, I mean, I think it just limits more of the size of the home you can put there. So if he's got another 6.5 feet, then he's got another 6.5 feet worth of house that he could put in there.
Okay. So it's not like there's going to be a house there, it's just size that would
Yeah.
be limited.
Correct. The size of the house and the size of the yard on either side of the home. So he lives currently in the house to the west of the vacant lot. And so, you know, as any good neighbor, you don't want your neighbor too close to you. So having a little more buffer is also a good thing. So, and I couldn't tell you if he was here, he could speak to that, but whether it's he wants more space or he wants more house, he wants more land, and dividing that into two gives him a little more property there.
So then, sorry, if I to follow up on the mayor's original point, an alleyway, like, what is it originally used for storm drainage, kind of? Or like, I guess I wasn't sure if that was just an example of like, oh, we need to put one in the area and like that's the place where we would want to do it, or like
well, just in terms of,
hypothetically.
yeah, when we need to run utilities, it's handy to have a right of way or a alleyway or something that we already are in control over to put those utilities in so that we don't have to buy that or because I think we may be dealing with a situation like that on a different project.
Oh.
Main Street,
Is it a nightmare?
that might come into play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think that's less of that issue and more of the 19th Street guy just.
Sure, sure. But I guess that's kind of my point is can I share that? Is that okay? Okay.
Don't talk to the property owner at all yet, but
Well, just I think like an example of where this can come into play in a way that we didn't foresee is like 2 years ago, I don't know, a year however long ago we vacated the right of way for North 20th Street to Letman for part of his development with the RV
yeah.
park. But since the county just repaved 19th Street and we got all this state money to put in a sewer line on the newly repaved 19th Street, now we might need to go up 20th Street, but we just gave away the north end of 20th Street. So now it's this sort of like, now we don't have a great place to put a sewer line. So again, it's not apples to apples.
Yes.
I just would rather not do this, but that's just me. Yeah.
And just a question about emergency services.
Yeah.
Do,
It was right behind.
Great, but can we address that? Does that change anything with emergency services?
The unique part about this particular proposal is you could have a railroad anyway. So it's gonna limit whatever you're gonna do in there. And if they decide to put the house, the only access to that's gonna be the existing alleyway that's there. That's gonna be their access. However,
they're looking to put a private driveway in from the south.
Yeah.
Along the railroad
or the college or,
to the new home that would be
But-
developed
yeah, but off of 8th and College or,
off of 8th Street.
Yeah, off of 8th Street, okay. Is it gonna be more than 150 feet?
If it is, it'll have to be 20 feet wide.
The point is, that's what we would look at, right? So
Okay,
we
yeah.
would have to be able to make sure that there's sufficient access. And so that alleyway anyway, is gonna enter into that equation
Okay,
in this particular case. And more to your point, Christopher, I totally get it. But kind of looking at this particular, but I'm a person that lives on 2 vacated alleyways.
Okay, yeah.
So I've kind of dealt with all of this too. It makes things a lot cleaner when you're doing things like what they're proposing to do without having that sort of sitting there in the middle, I have to say. And because of the railroad being there, the chances of this are probably minuscule, in terms of having to do something in the future. It's personal.
Sure, yeah.
My personal opinion. I take your point.
Yeah.
But having looked at the access part too, that's what they're gonna do there.
thank you.
Not us.
Concerns.
Yeah, and I'll just say to the mayor's point, I agree with you. In certain situations, you want to be careful. I think, we'll find a solution on 19th with the sewer line. So it's not that was a hurdle. And honestly, we haven't even looked at a pricing and alignment anything yet. So that was the only hesitation in him making the comment, just that maybe premature that it's a problem. I don't know that it will be. It probably might not be the preferred route anyway. But in this area up in here, I mean, originally the entire city got laid out with this grid system with these alleys. And I think it was back in 2015 or 2016, we vacated dozens of these alleyways just like this. And in fact, I think this was on the list at the time. And Mr. Ramsey wrote a letter and said, don't vacate it because I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. And so it got taken off the list only because the adjacent property owner said no. But dozens of them, the property owners said, yeah, we're maintaining it anyway. We have to mow it. We have to weed it. We have to take care of it. The city doesn't maintain it. So if the city doesn't want it for future infrastructure, then vacate it. And so dozens of those got vacated. And we've not seen problems come from that in these residential areas. We just don't see it. So cautiously as well, we did give a close look. Like I said, we looked at several times Public Works with the engineer. And on this case, in this scenario, we felt like it was appropriate. So stand by the recommendation. I get the cautiousness to, once you give it away, we don't get it back unless we go through eminent domain. There's a lot of expense there, all those things. So all of that said, I still stand by the recommendation. I think in this case, it's a good one to go ahead and vacate, let the property owners who are already maintaining it go ahead and own it.
Counselor Property.
I just had a question. There is not an alley that goes across the other side of the street, is there? That would make it
North?
full way. Yeah, north.
I think, yeah, there is.
North of Pioneer.
Up here.
Yeah.
That's an alley.
That's the building.
No, there's literally an alley right here.
On page 3.
But not big enough to be a street.
The alleys are 13 feet wide. And so it's not big enough for the fire district to like them because they want to be at 20, 16 if you get them on a good day. So at 13, you're really not meeting any fire life safety issues. It's really about access to the backs of properties or access to properties going to be divided, and getting access to those.
And just because the alleyway is legally 13 feet doesn't mean that people have trimmed all their bushes and everything.
Oh, something's over.
Yeah, that may be part of why it doesn't.
They're very, very.
Yeah.
I agree, butt it up to the railroad track and that it's a street in front of it, right?
There's another alley.
Oh, good grief. Let's ban alleys.
Or vacated.
Okay,
I think just a motion to give me some direction to prepare the ordinance or not to prepare the ordinance is what I'm looking for
I
tonight.
just want, before I do that, I want to make sure, is there anyone here to offer comment in this public hearing? Okay, thanks. Now we can make a motion. Like,
That, we direct staff to prepare an ordinance to vacate the subject matter.
I second.
okay, just for the sake of cleanliness, I'm going to close the public hearing. And then now you said that, right?
Yes, now
You seconded that, right?
it.
Okay, great. It's been moved by Counselor Salsa, seconded by Counselor Crocker to direct staff to prepare an ordinance to vacate the subject alleyway. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay? Nay. Okay.
You vote twice.
I held my hand out. Right. Do we have all of us here tonight? Okay, that passes 6-1. Okay, thank you all very much. With that, we are going to skip ahead, as I mentioned, to item F1, mixed-use development RFP for 1348 Main Street. If you would like to join us again, you're more than welcome to, and we'll try to make this relatively brief. And yes, that's on page 17 in your packet. Thanks for bearing with us on quick change there. So this is what we all just we're talking about with the applicants. I think as Chris and I mentioned in the work session, what we need from us all this evening is just some direction to staff, informed by the conversations we had, what you would like to see in an RFP for that lot. So if you heard something that you were like, oh, that's the perfect direction, that's where we want to go, now's the time to say that. If you heard something you're like, oh, no, that doesn't seem like a good fit, now's the time to say that. Chris, do you want to offer any other requests there?
Yeah, let me just paint the picture going forward, I guess. So I've got a couple of samples of RFPs from other communities, and so I've got an idea of structure that we'll borrow. What we're really looking for is not, it's a little bit different, I guess, than 20th and Main Street. And so I don't want to confuse the two. On that one, it was like, we're looking for affordable housing project. We're looking for a nonprofit to come in and get it, and we want out fairly quickly, right? Like, we're going to set proposals very specific out. On this one's a little different. The idea behind this that was explained in the RFQ was we're really trying to get to, I'm looking at the bottom of the page, an exclusive negotiating agreement and ENA, because you're going to have acronyms for everything, we're government, and a memorandum of understanding, an MOU. We're really trying to get, as we heard from some developers, we want to select a developer that we feel confident we can work through a project with. And we're going to be at that table for longer than what we are with our residential development that we're looking at. We're going to work with them on development. We're going to do the outreach to the community. We're going to talk about aesthetics. We're going to talk about all of that stuff. We're going to allow their teams that they have time to research boutique hotels and multifamily housing and all those things and bring that to the table and discuss those with us. And so we're going to be kind of a partner in this development strategy to go through it with this negotiating agreement and eventually a memorandum of understanding. Eventually, it's going to lead to some type of a purchase sale agreement, a lease agreement. We haven't even determined that long term right yet. So that's where we're trying to get to with the RFP is how do we solicit hopefully more than just one bid or one proposal, more than one proposal to partner with the city to do all those things. So the RFP is going to spell out what that negotiating agreement looks like, what the MOU is going to look like. It kind of spell a time frame out. So that's kind of what we're signing up for and what we're positioning for. Again, a little bit different than just the housing one, which is a little more cut and dry. This will be more who wants to partner with us, not who wants to develop a piece of property for us.
And then I have a question about that. Then. It says, because I heard in the conversation, it sounds like that this is still very much open-ended in terms of what. In other words, it's not a particular direction to do the hotel with a retail, it's not particularly tied to a direction of putting apartments or condos or something like that, or is this kind of the stage now that we're making that kind of decision?
I think that's part of this discussion.
Okay, because that's what I was.
Yeah. I think the problem is there isn't really an answer to your question. I think if this council and guest want to, like, if you, after that discussion, be like, I'm all in on, studio apartments, and I think it should just be a whole building full of studio apartments, we can put that in the RFP. If after that discussion you were like, I only want a hotel or bust, we can put that in the RFP. But if after that discussion we were kind of like, well, we're not sure, then we can try to tailor an RFP where maybe we say we have a preference for this, but if that doesn't work. We have this backup. I think that's what we need to decide right now.
Okay,
So,
okay, good, thank you.
yeah. I think I saw, yeah.
I'll just start by saying, like, I think that my understanding from our meeting, so hopefully this is right. We all want to see something there and probably sooner rather than later. Like, we don't want to just have a vacant lot in our downtown for a long time. And so my kind of thinking is that, we still mindfully, but we still kind of leave it open to the best use case that's available there. I think that the approach that Mr. Miller outlined with kind of like, if not this, then this, if not, kind of a triage situation seems like a good fit. And I think there might have been some willingness from the other party as well. I just, whatever we craft, I am of the mind that I don't think we're hotel or bust or anything or bust, or that it has to be all shops across the, I think we could do a lot of damage to the potential, because none of us are developers that I'm aware, like this is like a fairly niche thing where this is what they do. And like, he's got they got people with is in finance that make sure this is gonna work out, or. Yeah, so, I don't know, that was kind of my thought, but.
Yeah, thank you. Counselor Crocker?
I was concerned about a couple of things, but first of all, I really like the idea of the mixed. I want the businesses on the bottom, and I like the idea of having a hotel per one floor. There's no way we're gonna fill 60 rooms every night or even half the nights, I don't think. I think a weekend or certain events, we could probably do that, but the 15 rooms or 20 rooms, I would imagine we could do. And then having the apartments above would be great. But the guy said he did not have a ton of time to dive in, and that concerns me. Coming to a presentation and saying that, I was concerned that if he didn't have time, will he have time to actually work on it? I don't know. I liked both of their ideas. The public financing, I was concerned also about that.
I'll just really quick say on the didn't have time to dive in. I also at first was like, but I think it's important to remember this is an RFQ, so we are not expecting them to have dived in yet, really.
I get that. It was just, he probably shouldn't.
I agree. I think it's not the best choice of words. I just don't want us to get like, these are not proposals for a building. These are just sort of like, hey, pick us because we're kind of cool. So anyway, yeah.
On that note, I know other stuff, on that note is process-wise, so the RFQ was to help us get contractors in that are qualified to do this work. We got 2 proposals in. Based on the proposals, maybe I took this for granted, I'm assuming you feel confident that either one of these firms could do a mixed-use development on that site. So they're qualified, based on what they submitted, they're qualified. That's who the RFP is gonna be targeted to, right? So we're not gonna do an RFP open to everybody. The RFP is targeted to the 2 qualified proposers who have already responded and already said they're interested. So we don't need to get an RFP drafted that's gonna attract 10 or 20 different firms. We have 2 that are qualified. They responded in a timely manner. We went through the process. They've interviewed. Those are the 2 that we're targeting. We're trying to draft an RFP that gives them direction. They can give us a proposal for a building, whether it's specific use or whatever, but the RFP will have some specific parameters around it about like minimum number of parking spots that we'd like to see, maximum height that we're willing to consider. So we do want to put more parameters around this than give us your best pitch, right? We're going to have more parameters, but the level of detail those parameters can be determined. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to hear tonight a little bit. And we could be here for a couple hours talking about it because it's fun to talk about a cool new mixed-use building. But I'm really, is there specific language that's really important to you based on what you've read, based on what you've heard, or things that you've seen other places? Are there very specific things that you want to see in the RFP to make sure that this is kind of a minimum requirement from the city for any of the proposals that we would get in?
Counselor, yeah, Counselor Gibson.
I like the idea one of the gentlemen mentioned about community goals. I think if our RFP reflects what we see our goals are for that property, I think that would be really helpful to give them an idea of what's important to us. And so I think then they know where they stand with what our goals are as a city. Like you mentioned about parking. Parking is really important, and that's one of the things that I hear a lot when I go out. And or the Timber Town theme and it feeling like a good fit for our community. What are we looking for? What are the community? We want a gathering place. We want a place where another place. They mentioned about restaurants and businesses. We want a place where there will be local. All those goals we talk about promoting downtown pedestrian items and other things. Those community goals that we've been talking about in a lot of our meetings, those should be things that should be a part of the RFP so they know who we are and what we're looking for.
And a lot of those are in the RFQ. We vetted through goals quite a bit. Some of that will get replicated, right? So we don't have to reinvent this, but to your point, I think looking through that list closely and making sure that the things that have been highlighted, those come through and those are, we kind of double down on those in the RFP. I think that's a great one.
Councilor Irwin.
I think one thing that, I agree with what the mayor said earlier about the aesthetic seems to be important with the people I talk to, and I would include the height of the building in that. Pretty much everybody that has panicked at the idea of a very tall building in downtown. I have a hunch that once it's been there for a little while, it'll just be a thing that's been there and like kind of fine, I think it happens in all communities where someday the buildings are, they've kind of crept up to larger than what they used to be. But I do think that we should be somewhat mindful of like some giant tower built, maybe a clock tower would, I think it still works. Holding out for, but yeah. Yeah.
Irwin.
Write it down. These
Yeah.
guys, write it down.
Yeah, let me just do Councilor Andrade and then. Yeah.
Okay, if we have rooftop access for the community, then that would, hopefully appease some people who might,
Otherwise.
be upset. But the other thing I really wanted to make sure was in there is just prioritizing ADA accessibility. I know it's mandatory, and also if there's anything they can do to make it more accessible, that would be appreciated. Especially when you talk about roof access and elevators. Sorry.
So I think it was Mary that mentioned the parking.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably looking for specifics like Chief mentioned, 0.331. That's something we want to specify because I think the last session we had no park, we don't even require parking.
Right.
For it.
Yeah.
So that's something we should probably specify. He had 17.
Right.
Taking the extra building.
Right.
So 0.301, what's that, 34, 44, 51
Yeah.
units?
I guess personally, I just feel like that's a little too specific for an RFP. I think we could mention like in your proposal, tell us your parking plan or something, but I personally wouldn't want us to put a ratio, because like maybe their whole business model is, it's all people from out of town who come, on an Uber or something. I'm making this up. I'm just like, but I wouldn't want to or maybe their family picks them up from the airport and drives them here, and then they don't have a car. So then why are we going to make them in the RFP put in a bunch of parking when they maybe don't have it? I think those are the kind of things I think I would just want to say that it's something that we are thinking about. Can you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, and there are options for such as far as some of the apartment units will have dedicated used vehicles.
Yeah, that's
use
true.
for-
Yeah.
Real quick, just to follow up on that idea of you know, how specific do we want to be? I just want to remind everyone that they both places stressed flexibility and like just kind of more the overall. But I also understand that.
Yes.
Is an elevator required, I assume?
No.
Well, if it's ADA, it has to, right?
Well, not every unit in the building has to be ADA accessible.
But if we have businesses on the bottom,
Then the bottom is ADA accessible.
those are businesses.
And then,
Oh, so we're not gonna offer the hotel to,
well, I'm just saying that, I'm assuming if I were
Disabled
to
people, yeah.
open a hotel, I would want it to be. I'm saying per the codes. Yeah.
can we put an elevator in there? I'm sure it raises the price, but who wants to move?
Rooftop, the second presentation, they had the rooftop bar. That would actually have to,
Apartments or
that would
the
have to be ADA.
hotels, I think.
Okay, but okay.
Yeah, if they're doing any housing at all, if all of the housing is limited to the second floor, a portion of those are gonna be required to be ADA accessible, which means they'll have a way to get up there. So more than likely, I think the market's going to demand, on top of state building code, the market's gonna demand that they've got an elevator.
Accessible or we. Later, I don't.
I have a hard time imagining someone would,
Well,
without.
I was gonna say, if the affordable housing, is that the one, like the one exception to not having
Well, I think,
elevators?
I think the Commonwealth, what they were talking about is they wouldn't have an elevator because all the ADA units would be
On the bottom,
first floor.
oh, that's your
So-
workaround, I see.
Yeah, so then that
Okay.
helps reduce costs and there's no, then,
Okay, thanks, sorry.
You moved a refrigerator upstairs before.
I sure have.
Yeah.
But I just also want to remind the council, we can't have really low rents and elevators and everything that we might want in a perfect
Yeah.
building. Things cost money. So you can't have parking and an elevator and a pool and an on-site management office and really low rents. But yes.
I
Yeah.
did remember a thing that we had talked about, when we were storming is accessibility to the public, potentially for a bathroom or something there, or that kind of stuff. I feel like it's probably like making a big requirement around it is probably too much, but it might be at least worth saying, preference given to a more public design or something of that nature. I mean, we could, but then we kind of run the risk of nobody, I mean, they're aligning millions of dollars to build a thing, and if it gets too complicated, they go, well, there's other places to build things.
Yeah, we can put anything we want in here. You
Yeah.
have to look at it from the perspective of if you are a developer bidding on, or not bidding, proposing on this, would you want to meet all the requirements we're putting versus would you want a little more flexibility with it?
One, I think, like Chris had mentioned, there's this kind of long hallway that runs behind the tenantship, and they're kind of drawing that it's not shown here, but potentially there could be a public restroom back there to where the tenants in the front could have a back door. I'm thinking of a row of stuff in Salem that we go to sometimes, and there's lots of examples, but like 5 different businesses
Common bathroom.
share like, a bathroom in the back. And so maybe that could also have a door for the public that's open during business hour. There could be just thought like that would be useful and would be an important, when you ask people about what makes a good downtown area to hang out in, much like a good park, it's nice if you can go to the bathroom, right? Like without having to buy a thing or whatever, yeah.
Good, Chelsea.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that you'll be having some sort of criteria which you're holding the proposals to. So rather than saying that you require something, I think Counselor Irwin kind of prefaced to that you can say preference may be given, and you still leave it to the flexibility, but it gives them an idea that you may want to really look at that thing without making them avoid
Right,
sending you a proposal.
right. If someone like submits a perfect proposal, has everything we want, except it doesn't have a public restroom. We don't want to like you know,
You're
that.
gonna eliminate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you should. What else? I guess, okay, I don't. Let me open a can of worms. I just do want to have a quick chat about the parking topic. Because I also hear it, but I just am curious, has anyone ever not been able to find parking downtown? Like, I'm a little confused where it's coming from, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say, like, first of all, being a public representative,
Yeah.
I hear it kind of.
Me too, yeah.
I don't particularly personally view it as a big deal, but I think, I mean, people do, and I think you mentioned one time, like, we're not used to Philomath isn't used to waiting in line to go in a restaurant. You're not used to, you know,
Parking
I will admit that, like, I've been like stopping at Birdie's on my way home and had to like do a loop or two or like walk for quite a ways and thought like, well, this is wild. And it's because I'm very spoiled. I live in Philomath where you park in front of the thing that you want to go to typically. And so I do think that there's some hesitancy around that, but I also think that realistically, like, you can't, you know, I think she had a really good point. You either have space for the things that people want, or you have space for cars to sit.
Yeah.
And obviously you need sun. I mean, it's a balance.
Yeah. I guess I'll just say really quick, I feel like the only time I really had trouble parking was like during the dirt road block party, when there's like 1,000 people on one block. And even then I parked like 2 blocks away. So I guess it just the parking thing, and if you actually can't walk 2 blocks, now we have 88 parking spots for the first time downtown. So it just the parking, like I had a discussion with someone literally this weekend who was like, look, there's nowhere to park, and there was the other side of the street was completely empty. And I was like, oh, do you ever park on the other side of the street? And they're like, well, so it's just that kind of thing that I struggle a little bit with some of the parking. I don't deny that we all hear about it a lot, and it's something on people's minds. I just think it's a little bit like the taller building kind of thing. Like, yes, you may have to cross the street, you know, and I think we can survive, but.
But on the other hand, I've had a lot of conversations about the other property on 20th and then the one, and thinking about a residential, if we have 3
Sure,
stories of
yeah.
residences, we think, oh, they're all going to use public transportation, or they're all going to, that's not viable for where we live. And so I think parking, if we were to put 60 units or whatever of housing in, that each house had a car, that could change the parking situation of that.
Yeah.
In my heart, I think it would. So I think we still do have to consider, be mindful in regard to parking when we're thinking about housing and having that viability for people that truly may have vehicles. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just to, on the point of ADA parking spaces, are they, I mean, I don't look for them because I don't need them. I have that, but I guess where are they located? Are they spread out enough?
It's like there's usually about 1 or 2 per block.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just thinking about in terms of, like, even if they do have a mobility device, like it might be car, or like, do we have enough in all the right places? I honestly don't know. That's the.
Yeah. I mean, I think like there's one right on 13th Street next to Dirt Road, and I think, is there another one on South 13th Street there? I don't know. They're usually
I don't
every
have
cross
them.
street.
I don't have them memorized,
Yeah.
but the engineers, when we did the streets, the engineers went through and put required amounts in. And we heard complaints from business owners when they got a ADA parking spot penciled in or stenciled in right in front of their property. They're like, I just lost a parking spot. Well, yeah, but people with ADA needs just gained one, right? So give and take, give and take.
To be a customer, like.
Yes, sorry.
So the only comment on parking,
Yeah.
From perspective I've seen over the years is.
Yeah.
You're right. Right now, there's really not a whole lot of issues with parking. Certain streets get packed up,
Sure.
but a hotel,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna wanna pack their bags 2 blocks
Right.
to get to the hotel.
Right.
But if you don't think about parking now, when you need it, it's too late.
Yeah.
And look in Corvallis, try downtown Corvallis on just a normal weekend. You can circle through there numerous times, and, I've just left because, it could be 6 blocks free park. So if you don't think about it now,
Yeah.
If it's raining.
it might be too late to
Yeah.
do it down the road.
Yeah.
So then I know I had mentioned this before, I think it might have been at the committee meeting, like there are potentially like other ways that they can handle parking about, like, we had just heard about some of the ways they can do it for like overnight parking, and like if there's an off-site place, they can have like a tram, like there's just, there's different kinds of things that they can do. And so perhaps, like you said before, like we're thinking about parking and we want to make sure that we have enough for, like, as the city continues to grow, what are your solutions to this potential long-term, like this thing that
Right.
we need to pay attention to?
Yeah.
Framing it in that.
I agree.
I'm thinking if I'm going to a hotel and there's no parking, I'm not going to be very happy. Although I went to one in Washington DC and the only parking was on the street and we were fine because there was actually parking available. If I was renting an apartment and didn't have a place to park my car, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I feel like the parking to me is more of a concern for the housing than for the hotel.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of factors. I think going back to what Councilor Andrade said, the flexibility, that's what kind of stuck out to me there. It'll be a partnership. They want it to be successful just as much as we want it to be successful. So I think for the moment, we should be as flexible as possible. They want it to be succlosuccessful. All the concerns that we would have, they would have, because they want people there, because they.
Right, yeah.
I lost my train of thought. What was I gonna do with that? So staying flexible, I think now is important. If we want total control over the property, we can keep our empty lot. They're gonna be doing the investment, they're doing the work. And so there's gonna be something great there. I think whatever it turns out to be, it may not be perfect, but they want it to be as great as possible because they want it to be successful too. So I think the recommended motion is a good one, and I think for now, it's being flexible.
I apologize for getting us on the parking tangent. Is there anything else not related to parking that we want to kept in mind for the RFP? Or are there any questions you have for us? Anything you feel like you need?
Take a lot of notes. Again, you're gonna see things in RFQ that are pretty similar to RFQ as far as our goals and making that very, very clear on activating the downtown or continuing to participate in the activation downtown. And that kind of language. So I think that's good for them to hear. So no, if the motion passes, we'll start working on that. Hopefully get some back to you next month and get a thumbs up on it, a couple quick reviews or quick addition or edits, and then we'll get it out. We'll provide a little bit more time for people to respond. I think this one is out for a little over a month. We'll probably go a couple months on the RFP. We'll give them some time to put some solid proposals together, and we'll have I'll in the draft for that, I'll have the scoring matrix as well. We usually include that in the RFP so they know what they're going to be scored on. And I'd like to get your input on that as well, on kind of higher priorities that are going to score higher and lower priorities that we want to include, but maybe we don't score quite as high. And that'll really be what dictates who scores the highest, right? So we'll look at that next month.
Perfect. Okay.
I would like to withdraw my complaint that they didn't put enough time in, because now that I've really studied this, there's a lot of detail.
Yes.
They have trash bins and they have laundry and stairs and elevators. And, I mean, they've given a lot of thought to that, so
Yeah.
I withdraw my complaint.
I took his comment more as being like, we haven't secured a hotel partner who's like signed on the, like, it was
Yeah.
nothing that we are expecting them to have at this point, but this is already kind of more than I was expecting them to have at this point. Okay, oh, yes,
If the floor is open.
it's always okay. Well, that's not true, but right now.
I move to direct staff to prepare an RFP for mixed-use development of the property at 1348 Main Street based on the input provided by the city council.
I'll second that. So it's been moved by Councilor Caseman, seconded by Mayor McMorrin to direct staff to prepare an RFP for mixed-use development of the property at 1348 Main Street based on input provided by the city council. Is there any discussion of that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time. Okay, so now we'll return back. We've done roll call, we've done our public hearing to item C, the proclamation. This is resolution 2608, a resolution proclaiming Holocaust Remembrance Day 2026. Did this come from the Inclusivity Committee? Do you want to say anything about it, or?
It's new and
Like, or-
newly made.
Okay,
Like it's
wonderful.
not one that it has
Not
been
copy paste.
before. And yeah, Alba and Jane did a great job.
Great. Okay. Well, I think we'll do our usual trend of.
Chris, do you have anything? Do you remember?
No, I just, again, I appreciate the efforts of the Inclusivity Committee to put this together. It's obviously a solemn remembrance, and we have to remember our history, or we're doomed to repeat it, right? So I appreciate the opportunity the council's taking to approve this and read through it and just take a quiet moment to remember. Remembering is important, and honestly, we don't spend enough time thinking about and remembering important events and things in history. So I appreciate the efforts.
Thank you. I think then we'll do our usual, we'll pass it and then we'll read it after it's passed. So, do we have to have a motion on these?
Yeah.
Okay. I get confused between the ordinances and the resolutions, but is there a motion? Councilor Andrade?
I move to approve resolution 26-08.
Okay. It's been moved by Councilor Andrade, seconded by Councilor Nielsen to approve resolution 2608. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. Aye. Resolution 2608 is adopted unanimously. Would you like to read it, or is there a volunteer?
I don't mind reading it.
Well, let's do it then.
Resolution 26-08, a resolution proclaiming Holocaust Remembrance Day 2026. Whereas the Holocaust was an order directive oppressing and murdering approximately 6 million Jewish people and millions of others during the reign of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime between 1933 and 1945, beginning with anti-Jewish policies to control undesirable people, quickly escalating into genocide, mass executions, and extermination camps. And whereas we recognize the history of the Holocaust, reflecting the moral responsibilities of individuals, societies, and governments. And whereas the Holocaust reminds us of the tragic consequences of anti-Semitism, hatred, and dehumanization, while keeping in mind the consequences of the past, we witness daily assaults on our fellow global citizens today. And whereas we should always remember the consequences of anti-Semitism and remain vigilant against discrimination, hatred, persecution, and tyranny. And whereas remembering the dignity and rights of human beings and learning about the Holocaust defies misinformation and indifference.
Now, therefore, the Philomath City Council does hereby proclaim April 14th, 2026 as Holocaust Remembrance Day in Philomath, calling upon all Philomath citizens to reflect on the defense of universal human rights, being essential for sustainable peace, democracy, and liberty. And then I realized just now that we didn't, anti-Semitism is called out specifically in here, but I'll also note that the quote unquote like undesirable people were many more, not solely Jewish people, but also disabled people, neurodivergent people, yes, plenty more.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to the Inclusivity Committee for thinking of this. And I am glad that we were able to pass this just in time.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have public comment. Is anyone here for public comment? Okay. And no one registered? Okay. Then we have our consent agenda, which has our minutes from our executive session and minutes from the regular meeting. Consent agenda, Councilor Andrade. Second. Okay, second by, or motion by Councilor Andrade, second by Councilor Caseman to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Then we'll move on to new business. We've already completed our first item of new business. So next up, sorry, we have our water treatment plant, intent to bid, page 19.
I can hit this real quick, man.
Please.
This is just an update, so no action needed. We received a couple of bids on the treatment plant, which was great. Just due to the timeliness that we're getting up to and the size of the project in general, we're asking the two bidders to qualify themselves essentially. We're giving them some additional questions about their ability and capacity to do the project. So nothing really outside of the scope of the RFP. Within the RFP or the request for bids, it states that the city has the right to ask additional questions and get additional information about qualifications of each of the bidders. So that's what we're doing. We're taking time. I just sent it off to legal and the city engineer to review today. Kind of a questionnaire that's got some fill in the blank, kind of keep it somewhat simple for the bidders, but also get us a little bit more information about who you are, your subcontractors, your site superintendents, all that kind of stuff. So just doing our due diligence, make sure we've got good background information and we feel confident that all of the bidders are qualified for the job before we select the low bidder at that point, whatever that ends up being. So we will likely be done with that review and selection process before your next meeting. And so we'll be coming back to you with a recommendation from the city engineer to make a selection on the contractors. Any questions? Again, a lot more detail to come. Sorry for a fairly uninformative information sheet.
Yep, yeah, agree. Okay, thank you, Chris. And then now something a little more fun on page 21, our Public Art Committee temporary art recommendations. So I can take this one at least to start, and then I'll have Chelsea chime in. This is very exciting. We are finally going to be putting some art on the plinths on Main Street and Applegate that everyone thinks are weird benches.
Where are people going to sit?
I know. Now I have to sit on the actual benches.
Maybe we should put the art on the benches.
Oh, that'd be good.
You gotta think outside the box.
I do like those, those statues with like someone sitting on a bench. But
Yeah,
anyway,
love
okay.
those too.
Stay focused. So the process we used was the committee kind of talked about very broad strokes what we were looking for to fill those plinths. And then we put out a call for artists to propose themselves. And most of the artists proposed a specific sort of piece that was already created. Some that we'll see in here propose sort of a idea for a piece that maybe hasn't been created yet, or they're like, oh, I made this other piece for a different city and I can do something like it. And then the committee individually scored each submission. And then we sort of met, discussed, and sorted them into these top 5 for your review. We're not still sure exactly how many we will put in. That's somewhat dependent on budget and other costs, like if we need to rent a crane to put one of them in, that'll eat into some of the costs we could use to pay for the art, those kinds of things. So just to say that we're not sure, it won't be any more than these 5. It probably won't be all of these 5, so that's why they're ranked in order. If we can only put in 2, it'll be top 2. If we can put in 3, if we can put in 4. So the order does matter, just to say in this. It's not just sort of these are the 5, but these are the order that we put. I'll just say a couple quick notes about the pieces before we open it up. Number 1, Valley and Spring, as it says the note here, this is not the piece we'll be getting. This is a piece made for a different commission, but the artist submitted that he would make something like this, and the committee requested that it be sort of native flora. The artist said he'd be fine with that. So there's that. And the other thing to note is the artists for number 1 and number 3 are both Philomath residents, which is nice. Number 2, this is the actual piece, so that's good to know. This is a small scale sort of model of what the full-size sculpture would look like. So the artist made this specifically in response to this call for artists, and it's made sort of custom for this, but because of that, she made just sort of like a little, model size to show us what it would look like. And then if she selected, she would make the full size one. So it won't look exactly like this, but that gives you the idea. And then number 4, relatively self-explanatory, just with the note that this was sort of a representative piece. This is her style, so we will get something like this if we do it. It just kind of depends on what she has available at the time we actually execute a contract. And then number 5, we thought this one was really cool. The only reason we put it at number 5 is there's some logistical considerations. It's pretty heavy, and it's also like 10 feet tall, and has like an 8-foot wingspan. So just in terms of placement, it's really cool. It might just be a little, especially since we're putting them on the highway. Yeah. So
Tower.
yeah. So we all
Weather vane.
thought it was really cool, and I'll just say to show how much faith the committee had in this. The only picture the artist initially submitted that we judged it off of was this little like headshot. So we didn't even see the wings, but we're like, you know what? It seems like it'd be cool, and we were right. So that's just a little bit about the pieces. I think so. For tonight, we're just looking for approval of these pieces in this order, or if you have any questions for Chelsea or I about the pieces. I got one final thing I'll say, and I'm teasing you, is we did put number 2 in there because we wanted one piece to be a little more sort of modern, abstract, because we got several sort of abstract proposals, and I think the committee felt like Philomath was a little more of the like traditional side, but we wanted to have a little variety. So so that was our sort of our token, more abstract modern art piece. But we like it. So
We're becoming more inclusive.
No Jason.
yeah. Yes, Councilor Cocker.
Number 5, it says, they're also interested in other fee fish pieces.
Yes.
This is a bird, but they have fish pieces. 'Cause
Yeah.
that does appeal to me.
Most of what this artist does is fish, and he initially submitted a fish, but someone else bought it before our committee meeting.
Yeah.
So he had to withdraw it from consideration right before the committee meeting because it wasn't available anymore. But most of what he does is fish at Chelsea.
Yeah, and I did reach out to him with the feedback from the art committee, and it doesn't look like at this time there's anything that would fit for our plinths that he has available for fish, so it's not going to work for this, but I did let him know in general, the art committee did like the whimsy of his style. His fish are very unique and they're very cool. So, we'll have future opportunities too. And
we put a
art committee was
picture.
interested. Yeah, there you go.
That's good. Yes.
Is this the order of recommendation from the committee, 1, 2, 3?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know anything about it. Okay.
And one thing I should have just said as a reminder for everyone is this program that we're doing now is, these are not permanent art installations. We're basically leasing them from the artist. I think there's the understanding that if the city were to want to purchase one of them permanently at the end of the lease, perhaps we could if no one else has bought it, but part of the enticement for the artists is that they would also be on sale while they're out there. So, if somebody goes for brunch at the Dizzy Hen and they see the sculpture outside and they love it, they could contact the artist about that too. But just to say that these would only be up for probably like 2 years. So, this is not the permanent installation. Yeah.
I was gonna say, can you remind me of like what these, whatever pieces, like what's entailed in the program of like, okay, you've been accepted into this program, we're gonna lease this spot for a few years. Are we paying them? Like, how
Yes.
much? Like, what
Yeah, so
does that look like?
I'll take a stab at it and you
Sure.
can chime in
Go
if
for
I
it.
screw something up. So they get an honorarium, which is probably about $1,500. And then in addition to that, the city will provide all the installation and de-installation costs and will provide photography of the sculpture on its pedestal. We'll provide informational signage on the plinth about the artist and the piece and if it's for sale, what the sale information is. And then we'll provide, promotional materials about the art exhibits. So, and that seemed to be pretty competitive with what other cities do for these types of things. That's what Chelsea kind of based it off of. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Are we gonna buy insurance if it gets broken?
Yeah,
Maybe our
we're
watch
providing
party.
insurance. That's also pretty common.
Yeah.
And I've already talked to CIS about it. They do this with other cities as well.
Yeah.
Are you asking that, are we happy with this order of things, or you're just asking to yes, or
Saying
no?
go forward. We're not 100% sure, like one of the pieces, that these will all fit on our plinths. We've given them parameters of the plinths, but we still have to do some work with them specifically. So no, the committee was put in place to do this, and they did very well with their scoring, and they had scores and comments, and it was a very thoughtful process that they went through. So my recommendation as staff is just to say, please find within these pieces that will fit and that we have the funding in our program to go forward with.
Yeah, I think if you have like massive red flags or something,
Yeah, there's-
that's good to hear, but
Yes.
yeah.
I agree. I don't think the one was gonna love the marble because it's pretty. What is it?
And I think everyone has their own opinion of art, what's good,
Yes.
what they like. I think also like of safety things, when I look at, you mentioned the wingspan of the one, is it going to fit there and how would that work with people walking by and other things like children? So I think if the committee is comfortable in considering all of those pieces of safety and what feels like a good fit for, I love having the variety of artwork represented. I'm not a huge fan of the big red, but that's just a personal thing. But I'm comfortable with saying go forward and trust them to make it fit with our community and fit with the standards of what we're needing. Can I make a motion?
Of course.
I move to direct the staff to execute agreements with the public art ad hoc committee's recommendation for sculpture artists as feasible for downtown art plinth installation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Nielsen, seconded by Counselor Salsa to direct staff to execute agreements with the public art ad hoc committee's recommended sculpture artists as feasible for downtown art plinth installation. Is there any discussion on that? I'll just say, as always, I was really pleased with the quality of submissions we got. I mean, we got probably over twice as many submissions as we were able to pick. So that's always a little breath of fresh, I'm always a little worried no one's gonna apply to some of these things, so it's nice when they do. And I also appreciate the art committee for their work. I think art is one of the hardest things to judge, especially public art where it's like, it's a different audience than people that go to like an art museum or something like that. And so, I don't think there's any single piece of art that will be everyone's favorite. So it can make some of this work a little difficult, but the committee had a good meeting and a good discussion, and I appreciate all their work on this. So, yes. Okay, any other discussion or questions? Okay, then with that, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. Aye. All right, that's approved unanimously. Thank you all very much. Next up, we have our third quarter review of the strategic plan, which is in your packet on page 27. Chris, do you want to walk us through highlights here? Or no?
Yeah, just again, I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to go through it, so maybe page of time on any questions. The bold is kind of what's been updated. Some of the bold is repeated from like last quarter, but a lot of it's been updated. So, yeah, I think just timing wise, if there's questions on page 27, 8.
Do you have any updates on the radar speed signs?
Have been selected. I think they've been ordered, and we'll have them in by the end of the fiscal year. So we've not secured the specific locations quite yet, but we'll get them in.
It's impressive, all the stuff that you've already accomplished.
So I was going to save this comment till the end, but since you keyed me up, Counselor,
Me.
there's a lot more than 10 things or top 13 in bold here, right?
Yeah.
So my general statement is when we can focus in on 10 things, 12 things, it allows us as a city to take on opportunistic things that are there. And as you're looking through that, there's, a half a dozen of these things were opportunistic where it happened, something happened and it gave lead and we had the time that we could take something else on or squeeze an extra project in, even if it wasn't in the top 10. It was in the strategic plan, the opportunity came up and either staff or council were able to jump at it and get it done. So I do think there's a lot of benefit to keeping that narrowed targeted list of 10, keep that going, because we obviously get a lot more things done than just 10 focused priorities. But I was actually pleasantly surprised by the same thing going through and creating this document. It's like, we got a ton of stuff done. I will note a couple of the things that you'll see a couple of references to the U of O's Sustainable Year Program. There's a fairly snippet list. Chelsea did a great job and kind of provided summaries to them of some of these projects. They're under review right now, and then we'll have another meeting with them to kind of see what their faculty have said they're interested in doing. And so as promised last month, that list will come back to you on things that they're interested in and we're interested in this next fiscal year. So I'm hoping some of these projects get selected, but some of them may not. So they're highlighted here that they've been submitted, but it might still be another year or more before they get tackled. Again, I'm happy to answer any other questions. I don't want to rush you, but I feel like reading.
I had a quick question on Sturgeon Park.
Mhm.
I know originally the plan was to add parking like that? Or did we run out of?
We ran out of money. Yep, we ran out of money. It's still on their radar, something to be done, and it's still a city priority to get done.
Yeah. So there's no remaining, there's like outstanding phase one. Everything else is awaiting funding. Okay. And then I apologize if I missed this in here. I know we approved the new digital reader board for Collins Park. Do you have a timeline on that? What is that?
Been ordered. I'm just waiting for them to ship it. We've already sent payment for the first half. We're
Okay.
waiting for shipment. We'll send the other half.
Okay.
I've got 2 bids for electrician. I'm working on a 3rd bid for electrician to do the actual install.
Do you think that's like a summer thing?
Oh, yeah, we're
Okay.
hoping within the next month.
Okay. Wasn't sure if it was like,
Within a few weeks, and it's already, I ordered it
okay.
4 to 3 weeks ago almost.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, I could have an email tomorrow.
I just want to note Crystal's facial reaction.
She's.
Yes, Crystal can't wait. Crystal doesn't get a bonus. She just gets a new reader board, which is better than a bonus.
Be more expressive.
It's to set expectations. The one that we looked at, it's not necessarily bigger.
Yeah.
It's newer and it's remote access, so we can update it from here. We can schedule things a little easier, all that, but it's not substantially bigger. It's a better quality. It'll show up bigger, but we didn't order some big, huge mammoth one like the fire district did. The fire district's is a great one. Ours is not that big. It's about the same size. It's just going to be easier to read, easier to program. Yes. Yeah, we'll have a new sign. It'll still recognize the park for Del Collins. It's going to recognize the Lions Club who donated for it. So, yeah. And it'll be City of Philomath, the new logo, City of Philomath up above. Yep. You have a couple questions, Mayor?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I was gonna make a joke, but I can wait on my joke. Yes, Council Crocker.
About the transportation piece, it talked about, I just want to throw this out. There was some sort of bus for sale out on Main Street, and we had at least talked during our committee time about a local, like hyper-local, Philomath, and then it mentioned the Fitness Hour 50. Maybe we could go out to Fitness Hour 50 and back and do it like certain times. It wouldn't have to cost us, we don't have to do it every 10 minutes, but maybe on the hour or something, or on the even hour. Anyway, just, that would be a way to connect those together. It's just a thought.
We're renegotiating our contract with Corvallis Transportation System, CTS, just because our 5-year contract is expiring. So it'll be mostly similar, but it'll open up there too. The current contract allows us to negotiate with Corvallis on our routes and our hours and all that. So we have the authority to do that right now. Without saying too much, we're looking at the amount of time that the bus is in Philomath and the amount of time that the bus is in Corvallis, and making sure that the contract reflects that a little bit better than what it has traditionally. Back when the bus was costing us $38,000 a year. And, it spent half the time in Corvallis, half the time in Philomath with our administrative oversight and them applying for the grants and administrating the federal funding that was coming in. Seemed like a fair trade. Now we're getting upwards close to like $200,000 per bus service. And so we're just reevaluating that split to make sure that we're not overpaying for service.
That's good. And what I meant about the hyper local is that I've heard complaints from people with disabilities or that can't drive, that if they go from the east side of Philomath to the west, they have to go all through Corvallis. And it would be really great if 4 times a day it would just do Philomath loop to help those people.
Yeah, I've pitched that idea. Okay. So it'll be one of the things that we look at is, can we loop around Philomath twice and then sprint to Corvallis and back? So we'll look at it, but right now the focus is to get the contract renegotiated, similar terms, make sure that it's equitable on the cost for Philomath, and then we'll do a heavy look at the routes and scheduling. We try not to we're careful about not changing those because it's a big deal for people to rely on that schedule and set their work schedules and school schedule out. So whatever changes we make, it'll be like 6 months from now, these are the changes we'll be making, and it'll be a kind of a slow roll. But if you see someone with a free trolley and a volunteer that wants to volunteer for the city,
To drive?
You've always wanted to drive a trolley.
I'm such a great driver.
Counselor Andrade. Hey.
Clarification, I can't remember, page 36. Objective 4.2.2 at the very top. The update for it is staff are working with the property owners in the area to complete the wetland mitigation required for this project. What is this project?
oh, sorry.
That's
Good note.
Yeah, I think the action's missing there.
Yeah.
So this is the emergency egress between 11th and 12th Street. That's what that is referencing.
Thank you.
It's a private driveway, but the city has an emergency access along that from 12th Street all the way to 11th, but the pavement ends before it gets to 11th because of wetlands. So we're working with the current property owners. The city has an easement, but the property owners, we're trying to work with them to get a mitigation study done.
Okay.
See if we can get across the wetlands.
Thank you. Counselor Crocker.
Community awareness for emergency preparedness on page 35. I know of 2 or 3 people in our community that think they're starting or taking that on. I am concerned that maybe they need to be pulled together. That's all.
Send them my way.
I will try, but you may not want me.
Sorry.
I said that out loud. On recording.
Send them my way. I can
will.
help coordinate. Yep. I'll help coordinate whatever efforts they've got. I'll try to line it up. So
Send them Chansey. Okay. Anything else for our team?
if you come up with other questions later, just shoot me a quick email. I'm happy to update as go. I did include I didn't on this one. Sorry. Never mind. I thought I had an addendum on here that included all of the things that have been done, but I think that's on it's on the next one. Yeah. Never mind. I didn't put it on the quarterly report.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I will echo the happiness that being impressed with the amount we've gotten done this year. So we're already people everyone in the city. Then enough looking back. Now we get to look forward. Oh, I was going to make one joke, wasn't I? Which was just that there was an outstanding item on our strategic plan, which I just want to if there's anyone in the audience of taking steps to move jurisdiction of 19th Street from the county to the city. I just thought maybe the audience would be interested in that. So, maybe I'll follow up with the audience later.
That's on my shoulders, so I need to take the next step. So I know the paperwork we need to file.
Okay.
That's on me. That's not on the county.
Okay.
Yes.
In case there's anyone in the audience who we're referring to them.
Nancy just
Okay. So with that, now we'll move on to our next.
We don't need a motion? No, not yet.
No, that's just the review. So now we're going to move on to our thing that will need a motion, which is approving our updates for the 2025-2029 strategic plan. This, I hope, is not coming as a surprise to anyone. We've been working on this for quite some months, but the final proposal is in your packet. I'll just draw your attention specifically to page 44. These are our sort of top priorities for the upcoming fiscal year. So this is what, after we approve it, Crystal will make all pretty on the one pager, and we'll get out to the community and put on the door and all that stuff. So I think that's the big thing, just make sure this looks like what we've talked about, make sure this reflects our discussions, and then we can talk about the rest of the document as well, because as the city manager pointed out, we've done a lot more this year than just our sort of top list. Yeah, make sure that the rest of the document is good, but maybe just to start the discussion on the top priorities, does this look good? Is any comments on here?
So we looked at this last month and did some wordsmithing, so I
Yeah.
tried to incorporate all of that, but this, and we spent some time last month looking at this. So hopefully it reflects that discussion.
Oh, one thing.
Yeah.
That I'm just now realizing. I think it's supposed to say on theme 3, code updates and reconstruction.
Yeah. Sounds more appropriate. Thanks.
Theme 4. Do we want to specifically say with adoption of a city services fee? Just because, well, I just mean, I think the whole thing that we talked about was we still want to go through our budget process and hear from the community before we officially adopt anything like that.
No consideration.
Yeah, I mean, or just should we make it more general and just say increase, like improve police officer recruitment and retention efforts? Or something.
I think to be fully transparent, that with consideration of the city services fee or something like that. Because that's pretty much the only thing where, like, I know we have negotiations and stuff, but like, from what I understand, that's like the main carrot, right?
Yeah, and I think this is reflective of conversations about if we're going to increase recruitment and retention efforts, that takes money. And we had some pretty frank discussions about what does that mean? And there's a few different ways that you can get more money, but this is what we settled on as far as putting it forward to the community going forward. So I mean, we could wordsmith a little bit more and pull some of that out, but I think that was where we landed with the city council and moved forward. Sorry. So I'm fine either way, but I do think that was where staff felt we were given direction to move that direction, but hasn't happened yet, so.
I guess if that's what we want to do, that's what we want to do. It just, I guess I'm just very conscious of, I don't want someone to come to a public hearing if they are in opposition to that and then look at like, oh, well, you already said you're going to do it. Like it's already your priority for the year, so why am I even here? Kind of thing. Like I feel like we emphasized in the last meeting where we approved that like it's an exercise to put it in the budget and see how the public responds. But we also made clear that we have not adopted that yet and we have not taken a formal decision on that yet. But we have, I mean, we have not adopted a city services fee.
So then, like, through proposal, like proposing this to, like, including language to the fact of like, it's being proposed to the community will be reviewed in the budget cycle or something like that. Like, would that be, or are you thinking to just make it more simplistic, like you were saying originally?
Yeah, let me think about.
Because I'm just concerned that by not spelling it out of like, that it would look bad. And like, we're trying to hide something, but it's like, we're just trying to not send a confusing message of like,
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I like Jessica's idea of saying consideration rather than adopt.
Okay.
She'd probably take care of that.
Okay, just saying adoption to consideration.
The consideration of a city, so to speak, take out adoption. Maybe.
Good with that? Is everybody good with that?
Yeah, I just feel like that's more accurate to what we're.
And it's to.
The second one should be
officers'
offer.
Salaries, right?
Offer salaries,
Oh, yeah,
not officer.
okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, then anything in the full document? Oh, yeah, please.
Could we, this is it's a question for you, live. Of city services fee to offer compensation competitive with neighboring. Is that acceptable?
That covers everything, yeah.
Well, it encompasses more than the salary.
I agree. I think that's,
I don't know, some of our officers are pretty hung up on salary.
They'll read.
Yes, point taken. When we negotiate, we look at total compensation, as we should, and we look at other neighboring jurisdictions and what their total compensation is. So, yeah. Like any other labor union, they all want to kind of cherry pick, right? Like, these guys offer this, and they offer this, and they offer this. It's like, yeah, but we offer this that they don't offer, right? So you have to look at the total compensation, not just focus on salary or focus on benefit X or benefit Y, right? So we look at total compensation. If our salary is a little bit lower, but our vacation is higher, and they offset each other, then the compensation package is equal, right? If they want to lower their like vacation time, for example, to increase their salary the exact amount, we're looking at total compensation, right? Our officers at least tend to get very pointed on salary, which is
A lot of
there's a mix.
people do.
There's a mix. Yeah,
Easy numbers. to
as
look
we
at.
should.
can we talk about the rest of it? Or on page 34, we talked about future actions of replacement of play equipment on shelter 2 area. When we get to page 49, when it talks about great parks, there's nothing about shelter 2. Is that an intentional? We still have the dog park and the skate sport park, but nothing's listed under 3.2.1 about play equipment for shelter area 2.
Yes.
Yeah, we can add it. My impression is we've got a park advisory board that's a little reluctant to move forward with any one thing until we've got kind of a bigger plan for the parks, for those 3 parks specifically, City Park, Mares River, and Skirvin. As our community parks, we want to have a better vision of what those are going to be 20, 30, 50 years from now, rather than just willy-nilly replacing equipment here. You know, the long-term vision for that might be different for shelter 2. And so we don't necessarily want to continue to replace equipment there if the long-term plan is within 10 years to have something different there, right? Maybe that's where the cycle track's going to go, or maybe, you know, so the idea was, let's stop with all these kind of littler projects. Let's do kind of an overwhelming long-term plan for the park. And then that will kind of backfill then with what are the, you know, with a park master plan update, that'll kind of backfill us with projects then on what's appropriate based on the long-term vision. The dog park isn't specific to any one park. It's a little more general to, like, you know, we hear the community saying they want a dog park. What's the other one that's listed there specifically?
Sports park.
So again, we did a huge feasibility study on that one. So we felt it was important to leave that in rather than dismiss that one. So we're trying to strike a balance there between removing, like, add a bench, add a police equipment, take those out. Let's focus on a long-term plan for the parks. And obviously, let's remember the facilities plan that or feasibility plan we did for skate park, and kind of the higher community effort we keep hearing about for a dog park.
We do have information under 3.2.2, which could be really integrated into that plan that you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I just want to make sure that we're covering the needs of our children as well as the needs of all the others as well.
Yeah, and that park long-term plan is one that we submitted to U of O. I would say they were reluctant, but it was like, that's kind of a big tall order for us, but we could definitely do some smaller things to build up to that. So we'll see where that comes through. I'm hoping we get a good faculty member at U of O that's like, yep, let's do it, we'll do it.
Councilor Spencer?
Yeah, just on page 48, Chris, at the top, it's the third action, it says upgrade Main Street crossing at 19th Street, and then in parentheses, move this to the.
Yeah, delete that.
Anyway, that was the only thing that I kind of related.
Yeah.
Not my note.
I just have one thing on that page. I think at the last meeting, I had wondered if we could change on the first action item on that page. Instead of saying artistic silhouettes, just say public art. Just leave it up to the.
We changed it in the priorities list. So
Right, I thought so, yeah. Oh,
Skate park, I was pretty gung ho when I did all the talking and everything, but I have not heard anybody advocating for it or pushing for it. And if the interest isn't there, I don't know why we keep putting it in. Maybe you have heard.
I think until we,
Do this feasibility study.
yeah, I mean, we did the feasibility study, so it's out there. I think until we start seeing more interest there, it's probably gonna stay at a feasibility study level. Or if we update the park master plan, or maybe it's an update to one of the long-term plans for the parks, so that becomes an integral part of it, that it'll come through, but similar, staff's hearing crickets. We've not heard any interest from the public on escape.
Does the park committee know that?
Yes,
That's all.
they do. They've, some of the members that recently came off of the board were still pushing pretty hard for it, even with that information. We have new members. But overall, even the members that were pushing for it, they agreed. The entire park board agreed that there were some things like dog park, skate park, that they just felt like needed to be looked at with the three large parks. Where should they be? Where should we put our efforts in a big picture instead of picking off little projects? Are we not prioritizing them as we should, or are we putting a piece of play equipment where we want a future path? So they just had some concerns about that. So I think those will all come into play with that.
Councilor Andrade?
One of the questions that I have is, let's see, page 49, objective 3.2.1. The second action says consider and install additional features of the new park in Mill Pond Crossing subdivision planned for construction summer 2025.
No. Well, that's when it was planned.
Yes, I understand it was planned for then, but also I'm curious about the additional features part of it, because it feels kind of difficult to have that, or it feels strange to have that in there when we don't know what the base of the park is going to look like yet, I'm assuming.
And there's money we've had money in the budget for the last couple of years, hoping that the park would materialize.
Mhm.
And the whole idea, there's certain things that, per the development agreement, that they're required to install in that park. But we recognize we may want some additional things in there that weren't specifically called out and required. And so we wanted to put some funding there and the availability to like add something there. And I think the focus was on something like sensory or ADA or something that, again, wasn't specifically called out for them to do. But we should have a playground equipment that, caters to that need as well. And so it wasn't a ton of money. I think there's just a little bit of money in the budget, and it just happens to have been in there for multiple years because the park hasn't been built yet.
Okay.
So I would recommend officially just put a period after subdivision and strike the rest. I'd say change the date, but maybe we change it. Yeah.
I think the reason that it's here is because we don't identify it somewhere else and we don't forget about it.
Yeah.
The park does get built.
That makes sense.
Seems to be.
That's totally fair, but just wanted to check in on that, so thank you.
No, it's good. That's when it's opportunistic. It's like, oh, we're going to the park. Oh, there's something in the master or the strategic plan.
Yeah. And then the other thing was that, I was hoping we could include an action in objective 2.2.2 on page 47. Under create an encouraging environment for the development and expansion of desired businesses, including an action on revisiting time, place, manner restrictions in relation to cannabis. Because that can provide another source of income when we're increasing utilities and increasing, potentially like having this adoption of a city services fee. I think it's important that we have a discussion that on a topic that might be able to bring us more revenue so that we can, I don't know if revenue is the right word, so that we can, hopefully not have these extra fees and such.
Yeah, we put it back to the council because we've had it on there and then I believe I had direction to take it off of there.
I don't remember.
Was the majority. So it's not on there now, but if the council wants to give me direction tonight, we can put it back on there, but.
I don't remember there being direction to take it off, but I could very well just not, like I said, just don't remember it happening.
It wasn't specific to marijuana, it was more consider time, place, manner restrictions on businesses. It was a little more general. It didn't specifically identify marijuana dispensaries.
Yeah, and in this case, I think if we put it explicitly there, then we might make, I don't know, we might have a conversation about it at some point.
But I think we can have a conversation without having it be a part of our plan. I think that's a big leap from what we've talked about as a community. I think I'm more comfortable, having that conversation, but not necessarily having to be so specific. I think we've got a lot of changes with the building on the 14th and the housing thing on the 20th, I think. And we're not yet there on exactly what those fees look like yet. I think we can definitely have that discussion, but I don't think it needs to be listed specifically in our strategic plan at this time.
No.
Councilor Crocker?
Have we ever we have not taken that to a vote, right?
Not marijuana.
Cannabis.
I mean, there was
Can
a
we
statewide
do that
vote.
to put this to rest? So it's that, we are divided as a council, and if we put it to a vote to the people, that should be the final say, I would think.
Well, we had a vote, we didn't we, at some point?
Not a city specific vote.
There was a decision by the
They
council
was.
to not,
Yeah.
there was a council by the decision to not try to make it illegal in the city of Philadelphia. To allow for state law, legality of marijuana dispensaries and Philoma. We were gonna do time, place, manner restrictions rather than an attempt to ban it altogether. So that decision was made by the council. I'm okay with the specificity. I would, I guess, look at action item number 2 and see if it doesn't fit under there already. To create and maintain dialogue between city officials, local businesses regarding zone changes and new development code opportunities. I mean, it can kind of fit there. Again, if a business owner came to the city council and said, your code's dated in this regard or whatever, that's a conversation we could have and it would kind of fit there, but it's not us being proactive, so.
Yeah, I guess my main concern is that, like, I remember in the past you had said that, like, when we asked about, like, well, do you have people showing interest in, opening up a business here, cannabis business of some kind? And I believe you said that you had quite a few contact you, like, for whatever reason, the number 8 sticks in my head. Again, could be totally pulling that out of thin air. but then not finding out about it until, and like, I totally understand that like you had this policy in place and therefore you didn't need to bring it to council to reconsider. But, so I'm afraid that that might persist, not being able to, like that misconnection will be there.
Yeah, and I think if the number was 8, and I can't recall that,
I mean, like,
when they were first, dispensaries were first allowed to sell for recreational purposes, the interest was there. It's dwindled significantly. I don't think I've talked to anybody interested in doing cannabis in Philomath in over 2 years, maybe longer. So, I mean, there's just not a lot of, I'm not hearing interest from private sector. Doesn't mean it's not there. I'm just not seeing it. So, again, I will take direction from the council. I feel like I've, as you said, we're a little split. I've been getting mixed direction, but I don't know if the council split 3 to 4, 1 to 5,
As you said,
5 to 2. I just don't know where we're at. So
would you like to make a motion?
To add an action item to,
I mean,
I wasn't sure what kind of motion you would prefer that I make, so.
I mean, if that's what you would like to do, I think this. The motion is a good way to see exactly who feels what way.
So I guess I move that we add an action item to objective 2.2.2 of the strategic plan, the 2025-2029 strategic plan, that has, essentially revisiting time, place, manner restrictions in relation to cannabis businesses and, essentially getting a whole from whatever words, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Words about what the community wants. Like a test strip, pH strip, or I don't know.
I think if you just, again, just help it a little bit.
Thank you, I
think we just
appreciate
say
it.
revise, as the action item, revise time, place, manner restrictions for marijuana dispensaries.
Thank you.
Right, and then that kind of involves the
Yeah.
discussion and hearings and I don't know, but I think the action item would be for the city council to revise time, place, manner restrictions for marijuana dispensaries.
In this case, I think it's like to revisit it, to have a
Revisit it.
conversation. It's
Can't
not,
read my handwriting, sorry.
No, it's-
Revisit time, place, manner restrictions.
just because I understand, if we say revise now, I'm concerned that,
Yeah, sorry, I just didn't read it right. Revisit
no.
place, manner. Oh,
Okay, is there a second? Also,
Sorry, can we
okay,
kind of do that again?
so the motion being made by Counselor Andrade is,
revisit time, place, manner restrictions for marijuana dispensaries.
to add that.
Under
I'll say
2.2.2.
because I
Yeah,
think,
that's different.
doesn't that also include, I don't know if marijuana includes the other kinds of
Cannabis.
Should
CBD.
we just say for cannabis businesses? Because that includes manufacture and distribution.
I think the code is specific to marijuana. I could be wrong on that.
Love it. Okay, there's a
Okay,
motion.
whatever it is.
Is there a second?
Yeah, whatever.
Does everyone know what the motion is?
I think so.
Some people are jet lagged.
Okay. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, great. So it's been moved by Counselor Andrade, seconded by Counselor Irwin to add an action item under objective 2.2.2 to revisit time, place, and manner restrictions related to marijuana dispensaries. Is that, did I say that right? Something like that. Great. Something like that. Is there discussion on that motion? See, everyone loves it.
I mean,
I feel horrible because there is a divide and I don't like to.
it is what it is.
I'll just say before the vote, I feel the same way about this that I felt about all of the psilocybin stuff, which is I don't really care, and whatever everyone else thinks, I'm good with. So any other thoughts?
Yeah, I have a quick thought along the line, and I might have just cut you off. I think that marijuana dispensaries have been in place a lot longer than the psilocybin facilities, and I think there's a kind of a proven track record of safety around having them in the community. There isn't to kids, they're typically I mean, not that there isn't ever problems, but they're typically well-operated facilities that are in contact with law enforcement and work to create safe spaces for that, similar to what a liquor store or something else would, how that would work. And so, to me, there's a difference between installing a totally new, kind of unestablished and untested, and I think there was concern about that. I don't actually know the early council's motive, but I suspect it was similar to our discussions around psilocybin, where it was kind of this unknown. We don't know how it's going to be or how it's going to affect our community. And so we would like to hold off on having that here, but I think it's mostly been positive, and it's a thing that our state's citizens have the right to, and so that's sort of my logic behind it.
Okay, thank you. We'll do Councilor Nielsen and then Councilor Carpenter.
Being really involved, I have a daughter in some of the coastal towns and some of the towns that have quite a large number of cannabis dispensaries. And I think it is an overgeneralization to say, oh, they're all good businesses in safe environments and they're all run well and it doesn't cause any changes to the cities or any changes to the population. Because I think if we look at something, then there are changes that sometimes comes to cities that have an abundance of cannabis openings and businesses within their city limits. It's made changes in Newport, it's made changes in Lincoln City, it's made changes in Philomathoregon. So I think we're very close to Corvallis. They have a larger healthcare facilities available at around the clock availability to those that need them. I'm much more comfortable keeping our access to cannabis to Corvallis. It's a short drive. We got public transportation. It is much better health facilities and organizations there to deal with, as well as other facilities in Corvallis that we do not have here in Philomath. So I would like to see it maintained the way it is, and I don't really see a new action item as being necessary.
Okay, Councilor Crocker.
Okay. Granted, I might hang out with a certain kind of people, but they have told me several times they don't want it in our community. They have been very vocal about it. I am guessing that you hang out with some people that would like to have it here. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know that that's adding a lot, but there's a lot of people that have told me they don't want it in our community.
I agree with that as well. I think it would be really good to get the public idea of what our city wants.
That's exactly what I'm asking for.
Councilor Salsa.
So this particular motion is not about doing any kind of adoption or one way or another.
Correct.
This is just opening up a discussion point at some point and making that on the list of things to discuss.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's just all we're
Yes.
talking about now.
Yes.
And it didn't make the top 10 for this year, so.
This
Which I
is of all the things that we have to do,
Correct.
it's like one item in the.
A little
All of
drop
the
in the bucket.
things.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
We're not deciding tonight whether or not to get
Sure.
Yeah.
It's already legal.
Yeah, just to clarify.
Councilor Andrade.
I guess, I understand if some people don't. I mean, I don't want cigarette smoke around, but people do it anyway. And whether or not that's, a good thing or a bad thing, that's just how it is right now. also, I guess, kind of, I'm under the impression that there are far more alcohol-related deaths and injuries and, you know, stuff compared to cannabis-related issues. Cannabis can be extremely helpful. I know some people who cannot take normal, like regular, normal, everyday over-the-counter pain meds. They have to use cannabis if they want to function at all. And thinking about those people, they also have difficulties using public transportation for their health needs, and can't always drive places. And so I guess to kind of bring it back to the whole, you know, idea of accessibility and to what the mayor had said earlier about, like, we want to be a self-sufficient community. I think it is, in like, you know, if we had one in the community, it would be very beneficial for those who need it, and for those who want it, of course, as well. But then also, I'm not afraid of there being like an abundance of you know, dispensaries or any of those like manufacturing or whatever. Like, we're a very small town. Like, I don't see there being a demand for it. Like, I think that's like a worry down the road, if potentially, if it becomes an issue. This is just being able to allow it, having that conversation to people that have it here, since we can't currently with our time, place, manner restrictions. And I feel like there was one more thing. I don't remember. Yeah, I guess, and like, not to like, you know, not to say that like we should be, nah, never mind, I can't word. But
Okay.
anyway, just the point being that like, I think it's, oh, sorry, that's what it was. I think the responsible thing regarding the, how we pay for things as a city. We should be looking into every avenue available to us to try to help lower the burden of financial stress that nearly everyone is facing these days.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the question.
Thank you.
Would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Okay, all those opposed, nay?
Nay.
All those abstaining, may? Nay. So the motion does not pass with a vote of 3 in favor, 3 opposed, 1 abstention. Any other discussion on the strategic plan?
I think it's awesome.
Great, look at that.
Thank you.
I will make the note here about the Appendix A. This is what is anticipated by the end of the year, so there's a few projects in here that I know will be done by the end of the year, so those got included here. And this is kind of part 2 of the appendix. If you remember before, the appendix was like 5, 6 years old. So we put a cap on it, and then this is the start of the new Appendix A. And we'll carry this forward for probably 5 years again, and then we'll it gets too big and you just can't consume it. So if you want to look back over what's been done over the last year, this is another good spot to go and get the summary of it. And the intent with this is like next year, we'll have a fiscal year 26, 27, and it'll have another list under each of these themes for the things that got done. So you'll be able to look at a theme and look back over 2, 3, 4, 5 years and see everything that's been accomplished. So
Thank you very much.
yeah.
With that, I'll move that we approve the 2025, 2029 strategic plan as sort of informal amended, yeah.
Mike second.
Okay, is there, it's been moved by Mayor McLaurin, seconded by Councilor Salsa to approve the strategic plan as informally amended. Is there any discussion on that motion? Being none, would all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that looked unanimous, so have a strategic plan. Now we are strategic. That brings us to ordinances and resolutions. First up, we have Resolution 2609, adopting the Benton County erosion control and pest control sediment runoff policies, which was, I know we've all been looking forward to this. This is a big day. I hope you all can contain your excitement. Kevin was not able to be here with us tonight. Chelsea is pinch hitting if you have any questions. But I think it's relatively straightforward. We're just adopting Benton County's rules. Oh, yes, please.
Oh, I was just curious what we had been doing before, or like, were we?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it
Yes,
was
we've
recorded
been
before.
doing this. The DEQ for our permitting for the permit just wants to see that we have very specific language that you're saying that these are the codes that would like Benton County to be looking at when they're fulfilling our program requirements. So already doing it, nothing's going to change. It's just a formality so that we can add it to our annual reports that we give to DEQ.
So to clarify, the county has been taking.
Yes, they
It's not
implement, yes. They implement the program and the administration and
Okay,
enforcement for us, yes.
thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Salsa?
I move that we adopt resolution 26-209, adopting the policies contained in Benton County's General Development Code for Erosion and Sediment Control and Post-Destructive Stormwater Management.
I'll second that, and I'm really impressed both with the sneaky motion and reading all those giant words. Quickly and efficiently.
That's good, it's good. Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Salsa, seconded by Councilor Irwin to approve resolution 2609. I'm not gonna read the thing. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. The motion passes unanimously. For the sake of time, we're not gonna read this. Interested parties can find it on the website. Okay, next up, our favorite topic. Resolution 26-10, the 2026 utility rate schedule. And we have a clarification thing here, which, if I turn that to you, Mike, or do you want me to? I'll just. We noticed after this went out that there was a typo on the sewer rates. Under the volume charges on page 88. 9:30? Yeah, it's 9:30.
Not yet.
Under the sewer rates per unit, we are not proposing to increase the per unit rate from 875 to 2260. That is a typo. Mike has updated forms, I think. Do we have those? Oh, perfect. Can we? Okay, no, that's good. I'll stand it.
Mr. Mayor, why don't we get the drawing, but can we just get that
Okay,
when we get there?
okay. You want to give us any?
In front of you, resolution to adopt the proposed rates for the RAP list. You've given data, you've gathered data from prior meetings. You asked for further information. Part of the process, we can't forget the street utility fee. That's number one on our agenda. We're gonna hopefully adopt the other rates, but they're part of it. And so currently, we're at 870, but we're gonna increase that to 910. The resolution is going to have an extra, exhibit, if you will. The first year when we implemented the four changes, July 1st, October 1st, January, and July again. We kind of cut, they would say to the council some work. We'll adopt those first four, and then we'll have the other rates that'll be for July 1st. The water rates, the council wanted us, directed us to move to level 8, first entry rate, first level. Cost line. We're gonna, I'm asking, no, not really asking, Melanie, we're putting some new policies into place. We've run into situations where people have asked about the timing of our payments, and so we'll be a little bit more explicit on that. Underground leaks and adjustments kind of work hand in hand with this new system we have. We don't have people finding the leaks, we're finding the leaks and telling them. What's happening is some people aren't turning the leaks until the adjustment's in for 2 or 3 months. And we're going, okay, guys, come on, we gotta get this done quicker. So we're telling them, you gotta have that done within a month after we notify you or you find it. So, and then the adjustments, we're gonna, like I said, the links and the adjustments work hand in hand. We just need to get them in timely so we can get our books cleaned up quicker. We just ran into one today, and so we don't have this policy. The operations and maintenance, which is basically the budget for the public works department. Council wanted to see the 25-26 budget in there so you could compare.
What page is this?
I'm sorry?
Can you direct us to a page?
Sure. That is on page. It's on page 70. That's on page 70. It follows your attachments. And then water treatment plant expansion, we got all the money in this current year. We had to split that in between this year and next year. That's the CPI, the CIP, and that begins on page. That begins on page 79. And then the billing examples, council wanted a little bit more detail on that. We added a column for what the billing would, what it looks like on July 1st. And then we did the usage, we did the rates, and then we did the billings. So that's how they would split out. And then the next thing we had, Chris' recommendation is still pretty much the same. And then the council options, few of them, and the suggested motions. Okay, now we can start with the questions. Chris, Mr. Mayor, I don't know how you want to handle the exhibit, the new exhibit that you have now.
I'll just briefly say what's different, I guess. The exhibit, so the page I handed you replaces pages 88 and 89. It's all the same except the sewer volume charge. We've corrected to be what we expected it to be, and then Mike just did a correction on the low income base charge is the 8% of the base charge as opposed to 60% of the base charge.
Just tell them approximately 60%.
Yeah, the amount did, like the dollars did not change, more accurately reflecting.
You can say 60, it doesn't. Chris and I put that there, or Chris really came up with that. We decided we'll do 70 for the water in the. Then sewer would be at 60, but it's really 58%.
Yeah.
But what happened when I had my formulas on the wrong lines. So yeah, that was and the mayor found that Saturday. Yeah, I'm sure he had a heart attack.
Well, I was looking through this and I was like, okay,
No,
it's going to be such a long process. I think we're maybe getting, and then I saw that and I was like, wait a minute. So, I think, kind of thinking the best way to do questions on this. I think we have probably spent more time on this decision than anything else we've done as a body. So I certainly want people to have time to say their piece tonight. I also think if it's something we've already said a lot, out of respect for one another, we don't need to share that again tonight. But if you, I don't mean to shut down. Oh, okay.
Speaking of,
Yeah, that was
oh,
okay. We're hunted.
This is fine.
I think the other thing I'll just say, as opposed to every other meeting we've had about this, we do need to make a decision tonight.
This is all in the budget.
Yes, yeah. So this needs to, you need to come to a resolution here, but yes.
So a couple questions. I've been having a hard time understanding the rationale for some of the numbers on like page 83 with the billing examples. 1 unit in summer, 1 unit,
Okay, stop.
that's the base rate, so it's one, yeah. So then,
Start counting your volume.
yes, so then 8 units of water.
1 through 8,
Mhm.
and then 9 through 33.
Oh,
Say that one more time, please.
It's a big unit, they did on that one.
So there's tier 1 and tier 2.
41, they have 41 units.
So it's, okay, that was my question.
And that way, when you look at the sewer, we only build 11. That's the average that this person's got. That's why there's a difference between the 41 and you see the sewer base and the sewer volume compared to the water volume. We give them a break in the winter or summertime.
Okay, can we go back again, please? Because this is in July and December, so you're saying this is a high usage
The
and,
high usage.
and it's, let's see, okay, I see 41 and 12, okay,
Right.
thank you. Yeah, that was a bit confusing, thank you.
It is, we agree. I have to look at it 3 or 4 times, make sure I'm on the right track
Well,
too.
it's more like, it would have been nicer to have it in a different format to be able to read it more.
I'm going to take 4 minutes to see it. I'm just.
Mayor, I can kind of walk through that one a little bit, just since we're all there on page 83. I think just to make sure that, at least on this example, the council's clear, since Councilor Andrade's got us there already. So, I mean, what we're trying to show is the actual usage of this household, July of 25 and December of 25. And then that's the current rate, so that's our current rate system. And then proposed, this is the proposed rate. And then what we're looking at is if, well, then the next is the actual cost based on current rates and actual usage. That sounds pretty self-explanatory, so you can just do the math across there. The last 2 columns are imaginary numbers. This is if they use the exact same amount of water this year in July and this year in December, with the new rates in place, this is what those new costs would be. So we're really comparing like the 4th to last column and the 2nd to last column, the 2 July dates to each other, and we're comparing the 3rd to last column, the very last column, the 2 December dates. That's what's going to give you the best comparison for current rates today versus what the proposed rates are. And we tried to do that for, again, high residential and a low residential. And again, the low residential, I mean, even that one's using 19 units. So you're still talking about a household of 5, 4 to 6, somewhere in there, depending on what it is. But if you remember when Raftellus did the analysis, when they looked, they were like, this is 80% of the city. It was like 78 or 79% of the city is using less than that, 8 units or less. So the very, very vast majority of our households are going to be more similar to the cost increases you're seeing in residential low usage. So, and then we again included The examples that the council had asked for, we took some samples. So the school district, they do quite a bit in the summer as well. We looked at a self-storage, the big new self-storage that's there, Mary's Peak, Timber Lab, and then a apartment complex, large apartment complex. Just to give you an idea of kind of what they're going to be seeing on their end on utility rates from one year to the next. We are looking at about of the total increase that is needed by the analysis Raptellus provided. About 50% of that increase, we're looking to capture these first step increases on July of this year. And then I believe it's about 14% increase for October, another 14 in January, and then we'll go another 6 months into the final increase. I think it's 20-something%, 21% or something, would be the 14, 14. Was it 50? Okay, 50, 21, 14, 14. So we're obviously trying to start collecting more money sooner than later. But I also, as the council's said, we don't want to do this huge increase all at once. We'll taper it in, but we do need to get that first increase coming so we can have money start coming in, start building up that account. So we've got money for principal and interest payments. So
that storm fee on the Philomath self-storage going, that is correct, the 25205?
I just really quick, so now on the new exhibit, I just want to make sure the dates are a little different, or water rates. It says July 1st, 26, October 1st, 26, and it says March 1st, July 1st. What are we actually?
It's the very top water
For
rate.
July.
Okay. Okay. So every date row should say the same as the top. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that we got that in.
And then I'm quite sure I know the answer to this. I just want to share the percentage change. It's not that's saying it's like a 20% or a 3% increase, right? The negative. Right. Oh, on page 83.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. On like the. Right. Okay. Yeah. Just because it says -20 or -3.
And the low it used
Right.
is 18%, not 0.18.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Councilor Andrade?
I'm sorry, but I need to go back to 83 or not, yeah, 83 for the low usage. Because I thought the low usage was tier 1 only, or is this low usage of like going over 2 units?
They're just using less water.
Or I mean, going into tier 2.
They're just using, the first residential high use is using like 41 and 12,
Right,
and low usage is using 19 and 3.
right.
Okay, I guess, yeah, when I see low usage, I thought it was like sticking within the tier 1 zone.
No,
Throughout
it's
the
using
year.
less, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And those numbers were chosen,
These are actual numbers.
I know that they're actual numbers. Is this but like, are they actual numbers of like a sample bill that you pulled, like?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like, are they the average? Like, that's kind of, those
This
are,
is an actual.
okay.
I guess I do have a question about that though, just.
Because how representative is it?
Yeah, just because I know from the Raptellus study, they said something like 70% something were within tier.
70% less than 8 units.
Yeah.
That was the number stuck with me that I said earlier.
And that's why I'm confused by this designation of low usage, because it doesn't quite get at that 70.
think we were looking for a sample where the water usage in the summer was still high, significantly higher. So like they're watering their lawn, they're doing some stuff. But during the winter, you could see you've only got probably one or two people there that are using a fairly low amount. So
Okay.
we
But
could have done a billing for an average, but we were trying to show the extremes a little bit.
I think I'm remembering the conversation before that we wanted to see and not having them side by side is what's throwing me off. Thank you. And then the other thing was, I remember asking to look at some point, the ratio. Did we look at that last time, that having changes in the ratio of base to volume rate?
What do you mean by that?
We talked about potentially changing it because it was like 30 and 70, like 30% base or something like that. We were talking about potentially being able, base rate to volume rate.
I mean, part of the proposal is changing that ratio a bit from what we currently do.
Yes, but they did 30 to 70 or something like that, or 40 to 60. I don't know, there was another way of looking at it and we had asked for that and I don't remember seeing that data. And so I'm just trying to figure out if that.
Without knowing the specifics of what it's trying to say.
That's fair. And still, there's some people have memories for that.
I don't remember that, but it's just.
I'm just pretty sure that we need to get another set of data, which would have helped there would be less of the concern that Chris brought up in the agenda item summary of like potentially the potential for larger families to pay more. That would be less so potentially if we changed the ratio of base rate to volume rate. And so that's why I had asked for.
Yeah, I think we settled in on the base rate versus volume rate pretty early on, because that was a early
ratio?
discussion, yeah. I think, I'm going off my memory too, Counselor.
Yeah.
But I remember the thought of, oh, could we go back and look at this? But I think that was quickly like sidelined by like, well, no, we're good there. Let's just look at those actual numbers. And I think we started looking at low income rate and some other things that I think sidelined that as my memory. So I've not been waiting on that additional analysis. So that's my memory though, sorry.
Okay. Any other? Thank you, Councilor Crockett.
Page 68, city manager recommendation. I would like to at least discuss that briefly. I agree. I don't want to charge people or big families because they're already paying more for food and everything else. It does seem unfair to charge them more when the conservation is not necessarily needed. I mean, we have enough water. So I kind of think I was on this side once before and I don't think it was popular. But that's kind of what I still believe, that we should not be charging more because there are 6 children in the family as opposed to a couple. And they're not the people that have the extra money to be paying for more. I think if we average it out per person, they would probably be using it less. But anyway, am I making any sense?
I think
At 68?
that is part of why we changed the threshold for.
Yes.
That's what shot my hand up for what it's worth, is I feel like we made an acceptably high enough cutoff that it seemed unlikely to capture large families.
I think, as I said at the beginning of this, does anyone feel differently about this topic than they did in the last meeting? Great. Okay, let's move on. Not to say it's not important, I just, yes, Counselor Salsa.
I just had just a quick question. It's a bit of a tangent, but does the city, because I don't use this facility, does the city have a level pay option? Like your gas bill is just level?
Yes, we do.
Do you know what I mean? Yes?
Yeah, we
Do
do.
we have that?
Ms. Cronker uses it.
Yes, I do. Yes, it helps me budget because.
Oh, no,
I
that's
think
fine.
the
I
payment-
want to make sure that I understand that's
There's an
available.
option.
Is it really going to take advantage of that at this point? Because I do have a fixed
Yeah.
income, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know other people, like, listen, if you do it this way, then it's not,
Yeah.
yay, oh, pain,
Payment
pain,
out.
pain,
Yeah.
and, like that. Yeah. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
I have two, I think, quick comments. One, I debated with Mike on whether to even delete my comment, my recommendations here, because it is kind of just carried over from 2 months ago. And there were steps that were taken to, I think, address some of this in some ways, but we were a little insistent, I'll just leave it. So anyway, for what it's worth, I feel a little differently. I don't feel differently, but I understand concessions were made to address the concern. Great. The second is, maybe the council is still about this, but for the amount of time and effort we put into this, for most households, we're not talking about a huge
Yes.
increase. I mean, we're not talking in the $30, $40, $50. I mean, if you're using a ton of water, then there's some expectations that you're gonna see the increase. But I think when you look at your low use, using, 13, 14 units in the summer and 3, 4, 6 units in the winter months, for a lot of households are gonna be single digit increases per month. Definitely not the 15, 20, $30 every household, right? So I think we've done a good job. I'm trying to compliment the council. I think you've done a good job of holding our consultant and holding staff to really look at this and see what is the minimal amount that we need to do to actually make these increases. And I think that we've been successful at that. And at the end of the day, households in Philomath and businesses in Philomath are gonna see some increases. But for a huge water treatment plant going in and the streets that need done and inflation what's done, I think we're looking really good. I'm really pleased with where we ended up with the numbers here. It's never easy. I'll get on myself. It's never easy to raise utility rates. No council has ever been like, oh, thank goodness the economy is going great. We can raise rates. It's never happened. It's never a good time to raise utility rates, but every year you got to look at those, make the adjustments. We put extra effort in this year, spent a lot of money for a report from Reptilis to do a deep dive to look at our actual costs. What is it costing us to run these utilities? Where's the money coming from? How do we distribute it more evenly? And I think we've done a lot of really good work to try to make it equitable, to try to make it so it's sustainable. So commending the process, I guess, and getting there. And I'm pleasantly surprised at the results of, frankly, as low with the increases that we're looking at, judging by the state of the economy that we've been going through the last 4 or 5 years. So I'll just say that, and wherever the council wants to go, I'm hopeful that we can move this forward, because I think most households would feel pretty good about this.
Counselor Casey?
When I raised my hand, I saw that.
I think you got
I
I said a lot more than Counselor Caseman, and so I would actually like to hear what he has to say.
Oh, maybe not. But mine was if the floor was open for a motion, so if you got something.
Just a real quick comment along with what city manager said. The other thing that we have to understand is that if we don't make some kind of change, then we're borrowing money and it compounds the problem and it gets even more expensive the next time that we have to revisit this. And so I also think we did a really good thing. I guess it's
What he said.
I really do want to compliment the council. It shows our concern for our community. This has been such a hard thing to process through that it has really been blood, sweat, and tears as we've thought about, because we keep that in mind, the needs of our constituents, of our community members, or our neighbors, our friends, our families, and
all of us.
and all of us.
Yeah.
And us.
Yeah.
So it speaks a lot. I really appreciate the effort that's put in. It's not lightheartedly done.
Yeah.
staff too, Mike, and
Yes,
all,
I-
you know, coming back with all these different reports that are different, yeah, with different things, it's difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I move to approve Resolution 26-10, adopting the proposed utility rates and structure as presented.
With slight tweaks.
Oh,
Yes.
Oops.
Yeah.
Should I say this? Okay.
We're all understanding the motion includes the changes to it.
yes, in the changes to the changes.
Yes, yeah, that's, is there a second on that motion? Okay, it's been moved by, Counselor Caseman, seconded by Counselor Salsa to approve Resolution 26-10, adopting the proposed utility rates and structure as presented. I'll just say that this sucks. And this is not what anyone wants to do. But I do feel like we have looked under every rock and examined every line of every spreadsheet 3 times.
Yep.
And asked for more spreadsheets to the point that I feel like Mike wants to quit. And I just do want to echo some of the comments that I think this is what public engagement and public process is supposed to look like, even if it doesn't end at a place that everyone feels great about. I spoke to a group of Cub Scouts on Monday night, and one of them asked me what the hardest part of being mayor was, and I said, it's when you have to make decisions where there's no good answer, and I think this is an example of that. But that doesn't change the fact that we do have to make the decision, and there is no good answer. And I am frustrated with a lot of things. I think this weekend I looked up the price changes to a lot of the supplies we use. And just, I know we need to go home, but I just want to share really quick. The consumer price index for machinery and equipment has gone from, in 2020, 250 to now 370. The average hourly earnings for construction workers has gone from $31 an hour to now about $41 an hour. The cost for construction materials has gone in the consumer price index from about 235 to now about 350.
Extend the time?
Yes, give me a moment. The price for cement and concrete product manufacturing has gone from about 180 to now 270. So just to give you an example.
Right.
I think sometimes people see these increases and they think we just pick a number, or they think it's like when your Netflix bill goes up and they need to make their shareholders happy. That's not how these decisions are made. They are made based on very real, immovable costs that are far out of our control. Yes.
Also, because I believe the material, and want to make sure capture on Exhibit B, the water rate. We failed to list out, page 90. We failed to list the low income. Well, the low income's there, but it's the same. It's the 2150, and that needs to be corrected to 1510, or at least 70% of the water-based charge. 2150 is a regular rate, 4875 is the 1 inch, and 1510, is that what I said? Is the low income.
Right at the top there.
And where I was gonna note was, again, as long as we're saying, we started this process, we had a low income sewer base rate. We've added a low income base rate for water, and we've added a low income base rate for storm. So we've been cognizant, we've been aware, we recognize that there's households that this is gonna hit harder than others. And based on income, not just number of people in the household, but based on household income, we've made some adjustments to our rate schedule that I think are gonna really help people. When I look at the water rates on the new page 88, they're currently paying $18 for the base, and it's gonna go down even after a year and a half or a year of increases. In July of 2027, they're gonna be at $17.50, 50 cents less for the base rate than what they're paying today. So again, we've done some good things.
Let's vote. So thank you.
Yes.
We're ready.
Okay, sorry, I thought I caught one other quick thing, but yes, okay. Then any final questions or discussion on the motion? Okay, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. Resolution 26-10 is adopted. With that, I'll ask for unanimous consent to extend the meeting. Does it count as one meeting, including executive session? Okay, to at 10. Okay, no,
It's like a water bird.
yeah, okay, we'll say 10. Are we all okay with 10? Okay.
Extend it in steps or all at once?
Okay, are you leaving us? Good for you. I wish I were leaving.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you.
You do.
Okay, now a really controversial one. Heritage tree approval, resolution 26-11. This is,
Chelsea's got this.
oh, Chelsea, please.
Yeah. I did not sit in on the meeting, but we did discuss it afterward, and I worked with Kevin here to prepare this for you. 2 applications were received this year for heritage tree consideration. One was this grove of trees that was considered previously, and they this year thought that it met the criteria and was an excellent specimen of trees to be granted heritage tree status. So the Heritage Tree Committee is asking that you approve this resolution to grant heritage tree status to the Douglas Fir Grove at 146 North Ninth Street. Any
Councilor
questions?
Having been
You were
in
there.
that meeting as we kind of discussed this, I think it was a great recommendation, and on that, I move to approve resolution 26-11 granting heritage tree status to the Douglas Fir Grove consisting of 3 trees located at 146 North 9th Street.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Salsa, seconded. Was that Councilor Crocker who said that? Okay, by Councilor Crocker to approve resolution 26-11. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye?
Aye.
Resolution 26-11 adopted unanimously. All right, now we're cooking. Next up, we have our reports. I think we can probably, unless people have questions, is there anything you really want to highlight from the management report? I think we saw a lot of it in strategic plan today. So any burning questions on the management report?
Can I just say, I really like that when it's listed as a strategic plan priority item on the report, it really helps as far as streamlining and making it easy for me to remember and see that. Thank
Thank
you.
you for that feedback.
Yes.
The last bullet point on the first page, read through there, we wanted to recognize specifically Sergeant Bowers, but he's not available tonight. Otherwise, we'd have had him here to recognize him and his efforts as well as department, but he's really taken the lead on that effort. Newspapers do a great job recognizing the group, but you need to know that Philomath Sergeant has really taken the lead on that, is doing a great job. And it takes everybody to help, but he's really been the brains behind making that all come together, and it's a great effort, and it will continue going forward. But nice to see them recognized for their efforts. They try to make it fun. They do the little challenge coins for each one. They do educational opportunities for each one. So, and they're doing more and more of the pre-event information. So they're getting out to the schools, going on to sororities and fraternities, and really trying to push the prevention more than just catch people with the DUIs. They really want to prevent. So, that was the only thing on there that I really would push that you pay attention to. And there's been a couple good news articles about it recently. But that's the only reason we're not recognizing him tonight.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Brad, for that.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that, and I take a lot of pride that we have a safety base in our community, and I think that's just a perfect example of that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I got to do a ride along with Sergeant Bowers on one of those courses, and I can confirm he was up there briefing like all of the agencies, which was pretty cool. Yeah, he's doing good work.
Thank you, Sergeant Bauer.
Yeah.
The leader.
Yes. Okay, I think any brief, timely council liaison updates, Councilor Andrade?
Well, first, really quickly, the Hope Advisory Board, we found out that the Crow, shoot, I always get this wrong. They got selected as the regional coordinator for the statewide shelter program from HB 3644. So that's really cool, to help streamline, housing, rapid rehousing, this population and getting the services necessary for them to be successful. And so that's really great to have them working on that. And then also the museum, it's their 75th anniversary. They were formed in 1951, and they're going to have a celebration May 30th. It's a Saturday. The details are being worked out, but it sounds like noon to 6-ish or something like that, essentially 50s themed. I don't know if that's been solidified. It kind of sounds like it is, but, and it'll be out front if the weather's good, potentially moved inside to a bit if it's not. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Wonderful.
And they plan to have some of the images of the expansion for the museum to show and tell. And then also I just sent an email. You got it forwarded? Awesome. Cool. With some documents if you want to take a look at more information. 2 museums.
Really quick.
Yes.
Fire department's putting up a levy. The voting is in May, and they've done a great job of getting the word out why it's needed, and they've done a good job. That's all.
I'll just say this is not an official liaison update, but we have 2 junior mayors this year, once again. From the elementary school, we have Muriel Apanatis. Apologies to Muriel if I didn't say her last name right. And then from the middle school, we have Brooke St. Clair. So they have been notified of their victory via email, and we're still working out the details of a more official celebration. But I think we got almost twice as many applicants this year. Yeah. Yes. So my gratitude goes out to the teachers and administrators at the elementary school and middle school, as well as, of course, all the students with their amazing ideas, and to our counselors who got through it all and did all the reading.
We'd like to get the results. I never got results.
Oh.
I sent in stuff, I just never got.
Yeah, Crystal.
Muriel?
Okay, well, we'll follow up with you. I know. Okay, so that's, I'll save any other updates for later, but anything else for the good of the order? Okay, your monthly financial report is there. And with that, the Columbus City Council will now meet in executive session for the purpose of conducting deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.6602E, which allows them in executive session to conduct these deliberations. Designated staff, the news media, and other designated persons shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. No final decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome back the public into the room. I would remind the council members and staff that the confidences in this executive session belong to the city council as a body and not to the individual members. These competences should only be disclosed if the city council as a body approves such a disclosure. If a member or staff person does not believe that they can maintain these competences, then I would invite that member or staff person not to participate in the executive session. With that, we will enter executive session and take, just if anyone needs a quick